topic. What do you think about the back and forth of the comedian Corey Holcomb, the Joe Button podcast, and Godfrey and Comedy Hype podcast? Uh,
What's the issue again? Because I know
what?
there was an issue with like comedy hype or something like that. I forgot what it was. I know Corey Holcomb been had beef with like the dude who runs comedy hype
Yeah.
for
So
a little bit. So I know there's like some tiff behind it, but I'm not prevalent on what the issue is with comedy hype. And you said who else besides Corey Holcomb? Who's the other person?
Corey Holcomb.
Oh,
And
Godfrey, right?
Mhm.
Well, what's the issue again?
Well, Corey Holcomb has been on the record saying several times, even though he's hilarious, but he's been on record saying several times that if you've been in certain amount of movies, then you done gave up some of that back action, for and use some other words, and
Backdoor activity.
yeah, and then he brings up a situation where he says that Godfrey had told him about one of his roommates who was happened to be, on that particular side of the ball game, and he felt like, how do you have a roommate that plays and you don't play? So then you have that, and then you have the Joe Button podcast that kind of gave some sort of like retort on the fact that all people who are successful don't have to do backdoor action. And then of course Comedy Hype, Corey has said that we never really see the dude from Comedy Hype, but you can hear it in his voice that there's a lot of backdoor action. And Corey Holcomb asked the question, if you do backdoor business, right? And I'm paraphrasing here, if you do backdoor business, he wants to know, have you done it, so he knows how to communicate with you, because he doesn't feel like you could give a manly response based on anything that he's talking about if you participate in backdoor activities.
Again, that's the part of Hollywood that's really like funny. You know what I'm saying? Like that gray area where it's like certain people getting parts and this, that, and the third, and it's like they have special privileges, and you heard about some casting and all this other stuff, and it's just weird occurrences with certain people, like this person's high and this other person is not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're like, you know what I'm saying, if you're gay and that's your preference, then
Yeah.
that's your relationship. That's fine. That's not a problem with that. But what we're saying is, if there's some secret dealings behind closed doors that have something to elevate your position, now we have a problem. You know what I'm saying? Now it's an issue, because now it's not about your talent, and it's not about your skill set. Because now that goes out the window, because you doing extracurricular activities to get the limelight, where it's taken away from somebody else who's putting the work in, or going to comedy shows 3, 4, 5 nights a week. You know what I'm saying? To get their name out there, but you over here doing backdoor channel work, and it's like your credibility can't be on the same level as somebody else who's been working their craft. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be looked at as being a credible person if that's the route you chose. You know what I'm saying? Again, you can't skip steps in life. You know what I'm saying? You got to put the work in.
And then he keeps calling Godfrey Mr. Gaiman, because he played a role in what's the movie with Kevin Hart?
Soul Plane.
And his character name was Gaiman. You remember, he was one of the pilots, and he was in a hot tub with the chicks, but his name was Gaiman, so he calls him Mr. Gaiman, which is crazy. You know what I mean? But I don't get that type of vibe from Godfrey. Godfrey's always been funny to me. I always thought they was cool, but something, the communication has seriously broke down from whatever they going through. But there's a level of what Corey Holcomb is talking about that I definitely agree with. And when you basically had spoke on it, it's like, if you're throwing sexual activity into the negotiating game, then there's no space for real talent. How can there ever be a space for real talent if every time that this is supposed to be a talent-based thing, this thing of ours of entertainment, whether it's, comedy. I'm not a comedian. I'm just saying ours as entertainment. Music, the whole genre, right? Acting, whatever the case may be, right? If it's supposed to be based on talent, people are supposed to get the most attention based on talent. But if you throw your bedroom abilities into the mix in negotiation, then it's not, one, it's not built off of talent, and two, you're not getting the best product. So whatever the art is always going to suffer. So that is a factor in itself too. Now, do I believe that everybody that's successful did it that way? Absolutely not. I don't believe every single person did it that way. That has become a success. But
It's Hollywood at the end of the day. You know what I'm
how?
saying? The whole thing is Hollywood at the end of the day. And there's a bunch of sus motherfuckers that run this shit that make you do sus things for some piece of change, or to get your name out there with this little role that you got. You know what I'm saying? There's always some weirdo occurrences. You know what I'm saying? Even during when when they what's his name? The dude that was running Lionsgate for years that they just sent. What's his name? Weinstein.
Oh, Weinstein. Okay.
So when he was around and hot, and his production studio was running numbers, and everybody who worked with him got an Academy Award. If you go back to those award ceremonies, and when they go up on stage and they talk about when they're thanking their people, they always thank Weinstein, but they always had an innuendo next to it.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody in the crowd laughed and giggled like it was an inside joke that everybody in the audience knew, but us as the audience had no idea what was going on. But
Right.
the motherfuckers sitting in them seats knew what was going on because they all was laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't tell me that none of y'all know what's going on. When y'all all have these jokes, these innuendos, when you watch these roasts, they will start saying some of these things. The Bob Saget roast, which was one of the most egregious roasts I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. The roast the jokes they were saying with this man, it's like, yo, what? Wait, well, hold up. What you mean?
Right.
What are you saying?
Right.
Well, why would you say that? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you question, like, what's really going on here? It can't be talent. Because mm-hmm. let's really talk about it. Bob Saget, rest in peace, but did he have great talent? No, he was picked. You know what I'm saying? That's why I always bring up Steven Guttenberg. Y'all don't even know who Steve Guttenberg is. He was another cat that was picked. Top tier in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? What, did he have talent? Nah. Police Academy was hilarious. But was he top tier in his acting prowess? Hell no. But how did he get that role, though? And he had 5 of those movies. How? You know what I'm saying? How you get that if you ain't go to Juilliard and really put the work in? You ain't go to the theater route and do theater for years. You know what I'm saying? You ain't do that. So how'd you get there? That's what I'm saying. You can't cut corners, but when you go to Hollywood, it seems like, yeah, backdoor activity is on prowl if you want to cut corners. But then again, when you do that, you compromise. Because now they could pop in the tape, show them what you did last night. Oh, you don't want to sign with us? You don't want to do this movie? Man, pop in the tape. Show them what he did last night. Yeah, I bet you won't change your mind then when you seen you was doing all types of wild stuff at the party.
What Martin used to say, damn, you're a wild boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, just straight wild. You know what I mean?
Just, you know what I'm saying? Out here wild. Freestyle.
Shout out to Rowan Jack, one of our day ones, one of our badge holders, our big dog paws. Shout out to Rowan Jack for always showing support to the show, man. Yeah, he said the Terry Crews of his time. Nah, but at the end of the day, bro, like, when you look at all of this stuff, right? Because people take out what's the word I'm looking for? People take accolades and apply it to people's talent. When you look at the history, you look them up, you like, okay, they won Best Actor of the Year, they did this, they did that. And then you be like, damn, were they the best actor in that year? So do we really praise accolades or do we praise talent? And when we see people that's already in position with no type of real prerequisite of any type of work or how they got that role, like they were so lit in this small role in this small movie, they got a shot at a small role in a big movie. Like the first time I seen Tisha Campbell, from my eyes, was in Another 48 Hours. But people was like, nah, she from the Little Shop of Horrors, but Little Shop of Horrors is way before my time. You know what I'm saying? 48 Hours, I was a little kid when 48 Hours came out. You know what I mean? So I remember seeing her young, pretty little thing on there. You know, she the young daughter, you know, Pops in jail. You know, Reggie Hammond rolled up on her like, yo, your Pops was a good man. He looked out for me in jail. I know, don't make that face, boo. But here, hold these 80 racks for your Pops. You know what I'm saying? Like, he looked out. That was the first time I seen Tisha Campbell. And then next thing I looked up, she's a house party. So you see the prerequisite. You see that she took a small role, turned it into a big role. But when you see some of these a lot of other actors, when they come out of nowhere, it's like, yo, what small role did you have in any movie prior to, bro? You just jumped ahead of the line. So again, when you're doing things and you're using your sexual abilities or your practices as a negotiation, nothing that we do is built off talent. So how can we really judge to say who is the best or who could get a real shot at playing this role? So people are forced who are talented to create their own lane. It's a road further traveled, but it's more fulfilling. But on the way through that road, people don't give the proper and the due diligence of the respect of the craft and what it took of that roadmap.
Facts. Facts. And then you had mentioned Terry Crews. Remember, he had that situation where was no lawsuit, no
Yeah,
case brought up,
yeah.
nothing. Just him crying on TV with a bunch of women talking about, oh, the nigga violated me, but you ain't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What you talking about? Oh, I would have hit him, and you did nothing, nothing. And how many years ago was that? There was no case brought up, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you told niggas for what? You know what I'm saying? You told us for what? What was the purpose of you telling us this situation if you wasn't gonna bring no legal action on that? But you knew you couldn't do no legal action because they're gonna pop in the tape, show you what you did last night. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they let you go on the little shows and yeah, this person touched me and this, that, and the third. I don't even know if he even said the name of the person who did it. It was some executive at a party.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I don't think.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like it's always something. They got some over your head because ain't no way in hell, in no type of reality that's happened to no real man.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
You know what's interesting? That he was more comfortable telling the story that he beat up his own father than him talking about somebody that violated him.
They pick these people, man. They pick these. I swear, I'm gonna die on this hill. They pick these people for a reason. They elevate them and make you think that this person's a superstar, but behind closed door, they backyardigans. You know what I'm saying? So how can you be credible if your own stance, you don't even stand on it? Because that's what makes you a man at the end of the day. Regardless how anybody feels about your stance, you standing on it because that's what you believe in. But if you flip-floppy, you go with the wind, nah, I'm good. Ain't nothing credible about you, bro. And then you in Hollywood, so definitely ain't nothing credible about you. I'm sorry. Ain't nobody in Hollywood is credible. Because remember, rappers turn actors, actors turn rappers. How? How does you pitching on the block, selling crack, now all of a sudden you got time to write in your rhyme book to be a rapper? You know what I'm saying? And then after that, you become a rapper, top tier. Now you acting. Like, what's the trajectory? You know what I'm saying? But they always do that. So if you're a rapper turn actor, actor turn rapper, I can never believe you. I'm sorry. Your whole life is false. I can't. Because it could be all made up. You know what I'm saying?
Unless you create your own. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're able to create your own.
Well, for you to create your own, that's the thing, because it's like it's going to be hard because you're not going to have no bread, right, to create your own. So you got to go that route. But then after a certain point, when do you decide, like, okay, I got enough money to start my own thing? At what point do y'all do that? It's too many of y'all actors and actresses that had millions of dollars for years, but none of y'all got no production studios. None of y'all got your own writing team, nothing. And y'all still asking Hollywood to give you a handout. Like, come on, son, make your own movie. Make your own TV show. Like, you could go on YouTube right now and holler at mad people on YouTube, be like, yo, I need a production team and this, that, and the third. You know how many people gonna run up, be like, yo, I'll do it for free. Come on, son. It's just y'all don't want to. And then the contracts that y'all sign, because we never see the contracts, I wholeheartedly believe that in the contracts it stipulates you can't use none of this money to go back to the hood and help niggas. So you might as well buy the fake bags that y'all buy. You might as well buy the houses and the cars, because that's all you can do. Because God forbid, they ain't going to let you using the money that they paid you to go back to the hood and help the hood. No. It's in y'all contract. That's why y'all can never do
it. It's always interesting because dealing and seeing with this particular part of Hollywood, we have too many people that made millions, supposedly. It looks good, it looks great, but there's no real place for people to move about. It's like compared to the people that create their own and was able to take it to the next level, compared to how many people was more focused on being famous and getting their face out there. Like, you think of your Ice Cubes, you think of your Tyler Perrys, you think of your Cat Williams, you think of your 50 Cents. Those are 4 people out of how many people that's in Hollywood. And the reason why I bring up those 4 people in particular, because 3 out of the 4 of them just started having their own production house where they own the property where they could shoot their own movies on. Just did that. They just did that. And they've been doing this for a long time. So there's ways of doing this, and there's ways, because acting and music, that's not a foundation of evil. That's a foundation of art. But the business practices that's around the quote unquote top tier, the entertainment world of acting, the entertainment of music, that's demonic as. That's a place where the practices start becoming important, where they're interjecting bedroom activity. We're not talking about preference. We're talking about the activity of building and bending to someone's whim based on your lack of negotiation. So your only negotiation to top it off, pause, is to top it off, pause. Because you add that to the mix and it's not based on the foundation of talent.
Facts.
All right, y'all, moving on to our next hot topic. Texas track meet stabbing suspect Carmelo Anthony is released from jail after posting bond. What do you think about that? Did you hear about the stabbing at the track meet?